air compressor is a Brute. It's made by Briggs & Stratton, and it's always been a good air compressor. I've had it for some time now. It's always built up pressure, and I've never really had much trouble with it. Until lately, I can maybe get 1 or 2 tires aired up before I have to plug it in again and start over. It has a leak. It had a small leak, but it's turned into a pretty big one now. I believe it is coming from the pressure switch here. There's one other thing that needs to be checked before the pressure switch, and that is this check valve right here. It holds pressure in the tank, and if it's leaking, it'll allow the air to come back up and then through this line and back to the pressure switch. Take this loose, see if I'm getting any air out of here, and if I'm not, then it's most likely the pressure switch. Alright, I have a little bit around here and here, but I have nothing coming out here. Seems to be a lot of bubbles coming out right there underneath the cover here. There's a screw right in the top of this cover, and all you got to do is loosen it, and then the cover comes right off. Make sure the unit is unplugged. I'm releasing most of the pressure. That should be sufficient. I need to remove this line right here. I probably don't have the right tool for it, but I'll get it loose, and then I'll be able to turn the pressure switch so I can remove this pipe discharge. Probably could have left the gauge in, after hindsight. This pipe discharge will not unscrew because it hits the engine here. So I will need to turn the pressure switch some after I get this line loose. This pressure release valve needs to come off, the gauge needs to come off, so I'm going to go ahead and take those off anyway. I have some sealing compound that I will use on the threads. I found that a thin 9/16 gets down in there pretty nice, loosens that gauge. If you get one that's a little thick in the shaft, it may not fit. This is a very thin wrench. Found that thin wrenches can get into a lot of places, so if you go yard sale and tool shopping, you might want to look for something with a thin shaft like that. I know Craftsman's are a little thick. This one's a Bonnie. I don't even think they make this anymore. I know your Snap-ons are a little thinner too. This looks like some sort of a lock nut actually, and I think if I loosen it up, it'll allow me to turn this pressure switch some. Probably use a crescent for this. This nut loosened with great difficulty, but I put a little liquid wrench on it and helped it a bunch. Free it up. So you might want to put your favorite lubricant on this. You might want to hold this right here as well, just in case it starts to turn. I was able to turn the pressure switch just enough to where I was able to remove this pipe discharge valve. I had to use a pipe wrench to turn it this far so I can get to the electrical fittings. I ended up having to hold this with a crescent wrench, and then I used my pipe wrench to loosen this up, and then I'm going to unspin it. Take the electrical connections loose first. Like I said, I broke it loose with a regular pipe wrench, and that might be what you have available. Whatever works is what you use. This sealing material right here tells me about where I need to thread the other one up to. And there you go. Here's the new switch with the cap removed. I'm hoping that this right here fits my line. Yeah, this fitting right here does fit the copper line, so I'm okay there. This pressure switch that I took off, I believe, was much better than the one I just put on. It had an extra mounting piece to hold your electrical cord in. It had a screw on each side here for your grounds. I just put the grounds right here. Hopefully this will not vibrate loose. Keep my fingers crossed. So what I'm going to do now is put everything back the way it was. So I'll be back when I get all this together and plug it in and see if it works. Well, there it is, all put back together. I got it plugged in. I'll turn it on. We'll see if it builds up pressure and shuts off like it's supposed to and doesn't leak. It's about 110, and that's not too bad. I got it set on the right gauge for a little over 100, and you know what? I don't hear any leaks. Of course, I mean, I'm gonna have a few small leaks most likely, but I hear nothing. That is nice. Okay. Well, maybe I can get more than 2 tires aired up now. So, what I'm going to do next, in my next video with this air compressor, is I'm going to change the oil in it. And it's pretty dirty, I got to show you. I don't believe it's ever been changed. Right here. Anyway, I'm going to change the oil in it. If you want to see how I do that, make sure you subscribe. And you won't miss that video. So until the next video, this is Cars, Trucks, and Detours. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.